Okay, we are live. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, I have a very special guest, returning guest. If you listen to my show, you've heard of two other shows I've done with him. His name is Ken Silva, Silva. He works for Headline USA. He's a very prodigious journalist, puts out articles all the time. It's hard to keep up with him. I try to follow him on Twitter. He posts a lot there. Posts more than me, which means that he posts a lot because I try to post a lot. But we talked with, I think it was back in August, we talked about the attempted Trump assassination, the first guy, Crooks, which was July of 2024 in Pennsylvania. And then we also talked before that, we were with BX about the whole 764 pedophile cult and Order of Nine Angles. So he's posted a lot. There was another guy that I saw, Rocker, who got arrested, which is another of his articles. He doesn't just focus on the assassination, although he's done a lot of fantastic recent articles about Ruth and these other things that are going on. And things have just really happened. I reposted something from him yesterday. And if you're watching this on Rockfin, Rumble, or X Twitter, you'll see it. Like, I think this most recent article, which is titled DOJ, Ryan Ruth tried buying rocket launcher from Ukrainian before Trump assassination attempt. Unbelievable. I've also been following Trump, and there's new things, and there's supposed to be some kind of hearing or some kind of drop from the government about these guys and what's going on. But Ken can talk more about that. So Ken, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I just realized, before we went live that the last time we talked was before the second assassination attempt that happened last September, which I think is probably going to be the main topic of our discussion. And yeah, a lot's happened since the last time we talked. So it's great being with you again.
Awesome. So for people who didn't hear our other two shows, maybe you can talk a little bit about your background, what else you've been working on. I know it's the 764, but also, like, if you're watching this, you can see I have like 10 or 15 tabs of so many different articles about Ruth in particular, but there's a lot going on. Maybe you can just do some background leading up to the present.
Yeah, sure. So I've been a reporter for over 10 years, mostly doing local news for the majority of the beginning of my career. Jumped into kind of the national news / I guess independent or conservative media in 2021, and yeah, shoot, almost 4 years now. So been covering a lot of FBI malfeasance, which obviously gets us into these weird satanic cases. And the main story I've been focused on, though, is the assassination attempts. I've been working on that almost every single day since the last time we talked. A lot's happened. I got Crooks's autopsy. I was the reporter to finally unearth that last October. So I've gotten a bunch of records that are starting to paint a little bit of a picture about who these guys are, but really, honestly, they're raising more questions than they are answering.
And like, what about the Crooks autopsy? Like, there's disputes about, like, his story is so strange. Like, these guys are all strange, but like, what's the story with Crooks? Like, is it true that they traced his phone to an FBI office in DC? Did you hear that?
Well, so that's the Heritage Foundation's oversight project, which is, I guess, some organization within the Heritage Foundation that does these kind of investigations, made that claim, but they haven't released their evidence. Yeah, basically a phone they found based on geolocation data that they apparently bought from some kind of data broker. They traced a device from Crooks's home to Washington, D.C., within the vicinity of an FBI building. Of course, Washington, D.C., one building could have, 50 different offices in it. So I don't know how much stock we're going to put into that. It strikes me as odd that the oversight project, the Heritage Foundation, they know who this device belongs to. They have to if they're buying these data in bulk. It's not too hard for people who know what they're doing to figure that out. And the fact they're not releasing these names just kind of suggests to me that it's a nothing burger, but it hasn't been totally debunked. So I guess it could be true.
There's still questions about that guy. Like, people said that his home, when they went to his home, it was weird. And how would nobody see his gun? Like, it didn't fit inside his backpack. So how did he get there? I know there's videos of him walking around that. What's the town in Pennsylvania? I forgot. Brenton. What is it?
Butler.
Butler. Thank you. Butler, Pennsylvania. But like, how did he get to the point where he could take a shot if he took a shot at all?
And that's still a mystery. We still don't know. Unlike Ryan Ruth, who we're going to discuss, we don't know hardly anything about Thomas Crooks, including we don't know any of his social media history, even though we know he had a Discord account. So he's probably lurking on these shady extremist chat rooms, getting groomed by God knows who. At least that's kind of my speculation. As far as him getting on the roof, he did have a backpack that he could have quickly climbed up on the roof and assembled his AR. I've got like a 25-year-old AR-15 that is kind of really sticky and hard to easily break down and put back together. But when I made that point, somebody else showed me a video. Like, I guess the new ARs are like a Lego set. You could easily just click it together. So yeah, I think it's plausible that he just climbed up there with a backpack. How law enforcement didn't spot that when spectators were,
Right.
that's the $1 million question, I think. Last time I was on your show, and this has held up pretty well, I was doing this based off of reporting from the Washington Post that said it was actually Crooks got off 8 shots in 5 seconds, and then a local cop shot the 9th shot. And then there was a pause of 10 seconds before the Secret Service finally put that final bullet into Crooks. And that, to me, is one of the major scandals that nobody's talking about, is the Secret Service waited 15 whole seconds before returning fire and 10 whole seconds after Crooks stopped firing. So the Secret Service didn't save any lives. It was a local cop. All that's just to say that, like, we don't really know. We don't have a cohesive narrative from the government about what happened, and not a lot of people are asking the right questions.
Right. They had that kind of hearing with Prince Bongino before he became the second in command at the FBI, and then a congressman whose name I can't remember. But I don't think they had any answers either. Like, they were just saying this is kind of mysterious. I've heard other analysts, intel guys, who said that the Secret Service, like the stand down orders, and the woman who did that thing, like, I mean, lest we forget, she's like, oh, nobody was on there because the roof was too steep. Like, it's like a 12-degree roof, or like it's a total joke. But she got taken care of, and I don't even know where she is right now. But like, these are incredible. And you wrote an article March 26, 2025. Task Force chairman admits his investigation failed.
Yeah, and this guy is the congressman for Butler. He promised that by the time his task force was expired, before the new Congress got into session, we'd have all the questions to restore our faith into these institutions. The report, there's some interesting information, but largely it's based off of the Secret Service's actual security failures, which are pretty well documented now. Like you said, the whole slope roof fiasco, the poor planning, the fact that they didn't have like giant tractors or anything blocking the roof. It's all ridiculous, but the task force didn't get anything on Crooks's social media activity or the FBI's criminal investigation. And that's what we're really looking for, to see who might have been in contact with Crooks online or otherwise. Apparently, the FBI has over 1,000 302s, which are reports that they write after they do an interview with a witness or a suspect or an informant or somebody else like that. And they haven't given any of them to Congress. And not only was that, last year, that persists under the Trump administration. Trump said about a month ago that he was going to be briefed on Crooks and Ruth, the would-be assassins. He received that briefing, and then he comes out and says, oh, I guess I'll believe the FBI's official story that these guys acted alone. They are bizarre characters, but there's nothing really to see here. And a reporter, I think from Newsmax, asked him, well, do you think we should appoint an independent commission? And he kind of shot that down. He said, no, I believe the FBI's story. So, unless something major, totally unexpected happens, I don't think we're going to get much more info. I would expect, something will probably happen around July when the 1-year anniversary rolls around and people are talking about it again. But I do not expect total transparency at all.
Wow, it's incredible. So then we move on. Now it was July. September 15th was this guy, Ruth, who we know a lot more about, right?
Yeah, we do know a lot more about Ruth, which is almost makes me speculate, was this guy set up to fail to kind of obscure, muddy the waters of what happened on July 13th? The basic story is that Ruth had been thinking about killing Trump for months, if not years. He's a big pro Ukraine turbo liberal guy who thinks Trump's a threat to democracy. After Crooks failed in July, he decided, I'm going for broke. I'm going to do this. He had been stalking Trump using a flight app tracker, apparently, and he realized Trump was flying down to Palm Beach. He hides in the bushes for 12 hours, which the interesting thing about that is apparently Trump decided to golf. According to the task force reports, one of the more interesting thing is that Trump decided to golf around midnight the night before. Well, Ruth had already been camping out, according to the official story. So how did he get tipped off that immediately? We don't know this, but in any event, Trump's golfing around 1 p.m. on Sunday, September 15th. A Secret Service agent clearing the holes ahead spots Ruth hiding in the bushes. The Secret Service agent fires 6 times, misses all 6 times. Ruth runs away. He gets in a Nissan Xterra. He escapes for about 30 minutes. They pull him over in another county. A picture you're showing of him getting arrested right there. Bright orange shirt, kind of seems like he'd be easy to spot in the bushes, to be honest. Photographers are known to hide in the spot that Ruth was in too. So like it's a known vulnerability that the Secret Service was probably looking for. None of it makes sense. DOJ said they found a letter in one of Ruth's friends' mailboxes saying, the world, if you're reading this, I probably failed. You guys should finish the job. Ruth has been, sitting in jail, prepping for his upcoming trial since last September. And they just filed a flurry of motions 2 days ago that, I guess that'll be the next thing we talk about is him trying to buy the rocket launcher supposedly and all that crazy stuff. Give more background info on his background.
But one of the interesting things about this DOJ is it was filed a secret motion under national security auspices or something like that, right?
That's right. Yeah, the Classified Information Procedures Act, which allows the DOJ, if they arrest you and you're a big terrorist and some of the information or the evidence in your case is classified, the DOJ is allowed to give you a summary of that evidence instead of the actual evidence. So if like an FBI informant was recording you overseas and for some reason that's classified, the DOJ doesn't have to give you that recording to prepare your defense. They could summarize the recording. I mean, it's just so open to abuse. And so, a lot of the information in Ruth's case is classified. What could that be? We got to imagine it's about his contacts in Ukraine and his efforts to help the war fighting over there. I mean, it has to be.
And we have pictures of him in Ukraine. Isn't it strange? There was that one BlackRock video that featured Ruth and supposedly Crooks, right? Isn't that correct?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the BlackRock commercial was with Crooks, and that was in Pennsylvania, maybe like a year before Crooks, allegedly tried killing Trump. The Ruth is almost even more interesting. He was in a commercial put on by the Azov Battalion that they shot in the Ukraine in early 2022, like a literal, paramilitary Nazi outfit. And there's Ryan Ruth in the background. I think that's from the commercial right there, him with his little Ukraine flag. So, I mean, are there coincidences? Sure, but that kind of stretches credulity, in my opinion.
But that's like two opposite sides. This guy's supposedly a hardcore leftist. He's hanging out with a known Nazi group, Azov Battalion, are a bunch of stone cold Nazis with all the symbolism and all that stuff. That's what Putin is always railing against, is this Nazification. So it's very odd that he's there. He's also very odd. He's in contact with other people. He's also able to travel often, right? Like and supposedly not being able to pay his child support or whatever it was.
Yeah, and he was able to travel despite the fact that people over in Ukraine, some, good-hearted Americans saw this Ryan Ruth guy and they're like, he's kind of weird. He's, in his 50s, a little mentally unstable. He's trying to fight the war. He's kind of pig-headed. Like, he won't listen to directions. We try to give him simple jobs that he messes up. And so one nurse who was over there flagged him to customs. I think flagged him to a couple other agencies too. And Ruth came home and they actually questioned him and they just let him pass and they didn't really follow up on their investigation. There was even a CIA officer, Sarah Adams. She's kind of a big Twitter personality now. She's always going on that Sean Ryan guy's show, warning about the next Muslim terrorist attack. Well, she allegedly warned other CIA people, hey, do not deal with Ryan Ruth. This guy is twisted in the head and dangerous. So, he had known contacts with the CIA and intelligence agencies. Malcolm Nance, that former MSNBC contributor that's now over there. This guy knew a lot of very powerful people. It's very, very strange.
It's very strange. I've seen him with that famous Spanish chef too. Like I have a picture. I can see if I can bring it up. Also, when he's caught, he doesn't act guilty. So he's supposedly stalking the president, but like, why is he smiling? Or doesn't look like, I mean, this is just weird. Like, he doesn't look like an assassin. Why would they wear pink or red or whatever he's wearing?
Yeah. I mean, almost in the recent filings, it says, he used aliases. I think like John White or something was one, or Brian Wilson's, which I got to imagine he's a Beach Boys fan. He just looks like a Beach Boys fan to me. He had fake license plates. He's trying to buy Stinger missiles and rocket launchers. And then the arrest, he's very nonchalant. It all very similar to Timothy McVeigh and his movements around the country and how he was very calm when he was arrested. I'm not saying the two are connected in any way, but it's just interesting how these bizarre cases do have these kind of similarities. And the screenshot you're showing there is him talking to a commando, an Afghan commando who was living in Iran. And that was apparently, those text messages are from like days before September 15th. He was still trying to get the guy from Iran to Ukraine.
Wow. It's just so, the international aspect is too much. And people can see this. You can see it on, if you're watching this live, you can go to Ken Silva's X Twitter. It's JD underscore cashless, CASHLESS. I'll put that in the show notes because you can just follow all your research. You've posted so much on there. So it's like a great resource to kind of follow up what's going on. This guy is so strange. I don't know if when you say similarities to McVeigh, he's similar to a lot of modern people who've killed stuff. I don't know if you know this, but Ruth is very close to where Chapman was. I mean, granted, it's 40 years, but there's a certain part North Shore, well, in between the North Shore and Honolulu, he's like literally was a mile away building homes for the homeless, where Chapman was like working at a mental institution. And then Mangione is in downtown Waikiki or whatever it is, Pearl Harbor. These guys all came from Oahu and traveled to weird places to kill somebody.
Very, very strange. I guess here I will debunk. There's maybe some of your listeners are thinking also Ruth went to Fort Bragg, which is where McVeigh trained, but no, that's actually fake. That's fake. I've seen no actual evidence that Ruth ever went to Fort Bragg. That was a rumor started by this Tony Saruga guy who claims all these wild claims about having cell phone data and things like that. So,
okay, so he's not. You don't think Saruga's credible?
No, not at all. He tweeted out a couple days after July 13th that, we know there's a shooter on the water tower, and he's zip-lined off as his escape. And, we're tracking him via geolocation, data. But, if you ever go to Butler and go to that site, which I have on multiple occasions now, the water tower is on the farm show property. It's about maybe 200 or 300 yards from where Trump was speaking, again, on the same parcel of land. it's very visible. It's like it looked farther away on camera, but you would never be able to just zip line off, with hundreds of people around. There's residential neighborhoods. It's like, it's just, the trajectories don't make sense either. If you're on that water tower looking down at Trump, you'd be shooting at a very downward steep angle. So, Saruga in my mind is just full of it. Yeah, he also claims that they tracked some van in Butler, and it was sent to Arizona, and it was in the same shipping container as a vehicle used by like McVeigh and Terry Nichols. Like, this stuff is he's just pulling that out of his butt, though. It's like there's no truth to it.
He has a lot of traction on X, so
Interesting how that works.
Yeah, it is interesting. Very interesting. Have you heard of the claims of the two guys who did, in the context of this, the two guys, there was Livelsberger, who supposedly blew up his Tesla truck at Trump Tower in Vegas, and then Shamir, who drove over people in Bourbon Street in New Orleans. Are they connected to Bragg at all? Did you find out?
Yeah, they are. They both trained at Fort Bragg at the same time, and I think they were over either to Afghanistan and Iraq at the same time. The Pentagon claims that they didn't actually know each other. And they rented their cars from the same ride-sharing app or whatever, which, the significance of that is unclear, but it is a bizarre coincidence for sure.
So these guys are all strange. Crooks, Ruth, Shabir, and Livelsberger. Like, it's real. And then there's other kind of weird things that happen. Wasn't there another one, like a guy on the Capitol building? Have you ever heard that story? Maybe you posted about that. But there was supposedly like another complaint from one of the Capitol police that a guy tried to get into the Capitol. Are you familiar with that story?
Yeah, the night of Trump's State of the Union, which I guess it really isn't State of the Union, since it was he had only been in the office for a couple weeks. His first address to Congress as in new president. There was somebody on Capitol grounds with a gun. How close he got to Trump or anybody else, I don't know. Yeah, I should probably follow up on that story. Pretty interesting, because I don't even know. Where are the arrest records? Yeah, thank you for reminding me. I should look into that.
Well, I just think like there's all kinds of weird things going on, and then you mentioned in one of your articles too, there was another guy. There's another guy who was trying to hire assassinations from Iran or something like that too. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah, okay.
Because that guy was arrested July 12th. And so everybody immediately made, a reasonable speculation that is this somehow related to Butler, this Pakistani guy, connections to Iran. Apparently he hated Trump, wanted to get revenge on him for killing Soleimani. Of course, this guy gets, an FBI informant starts talking to him, says, hey, if you want to kill Trump, I know two guys. The two guys turned out to be undercover FBI agents. He pays them like $5,000 or something ridiculous that he had to have his family wire to him, not the Iranian government, like his cousin in Pakistan. He's arrested on July 12th. He's been in solitary confinement ever since. Government claims he's part of the Iranian conspiracy against Trump, even though he's just a Pakistani who tried to hire undercover FBI agents. And like Ruth's case, much of his evidence is classified, so I don't think we'll ever know the real truth of who this guy was. But his case smacks of FBI, Whitmer type fabrication for sure.
Wow, it's amazing. And that's like, you hear Trump, I don't trust Trump at all anymore. You don't know if he's letting out chaff or telling the truth. But he said the Iranians are trying to kill me at one point. And I don't know if he believes that or not. Do you think he believes that?
I think they're running psyops on Trump. So I posted on this yesterday after Ryan Ruth in the September 15th incident. The Secret Service supposedly gets intel that there's Iranian some Iranian terrorists had smuggled surface-to-air missiles into the country, and they were going to shoot down Trump's jet. I posted on Twitter about it, actually. Okay. And so they had Trump use Howard Lutnick's private jet, and they were using Trump Force One as a decoy. based off of that intel that supposedly Iranians were going to shoot down his jet. So I think Trump believes the Iran case because like they're presenting him with intel like, oh, Mr. President, we got to put you on a decoy jet because the Iranians are trying to shoot you down with a missile. So I think he believes it.
So he believes it, but that has enormous geopolitical ramifications if he really believes somebody from Iran's trying to kill him in the context of all this saber rattling against Iran. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he's got his, I'll add his national security advisor, Mike Waltz, was on the Trump assassination. Yeah, that's right there. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the tweet. His national security, Mike Waltz, was on the Trump shooting task force, and Waltz also believes Iran was involved. So his top national security advisor is in his ear about him. So it's pretty disappointing.
Wow, it's unbelievable. Like, you just don't know what he knows about stuff. And then you hear things about Trump, like he just found out that like the public knows Hunter Biden has Secret Service, 15 Secret Service guys following around. And then you hear he just finds out about it from a reporter. And he's like, well, let's get rid of that Secret Service guy or whatever. And like the public knows, that it's a, when you see him come to these realizations and make decisions, then you like, just in the context of what you said, what's the information he's getting? Like, who's he trust? Does he trust his son or Don Jr. or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I can't really blame Trump because I'm a reporter that gets to sit here 10 hours a day and study 2 or 3 cases. Like this guy Trump, he's trying to make trade deals. He's pulled in a million different directions. So I can't blame him that he doesn't know all the details, but he does need to have better people around him. And that's been the story of Trump his entire political career, is that he's a singular force, but he always appoints terrible people. So that's his Achilles heel, and that might get him killed because he still doesn't know the truth about the assassination attempts, and he doesn't seem interested.
It's always been that in courts with kings and stuff like that. It's almost like the people he appoints have more power than the king, and they can leave them in the dark. Like, you hear the story in Russia of like Potemkin village where Nicholas II had no idea what the hell was going on because they were lying to him all the time. But it's Trump, the same thing. That's the whole danger. It's like you said, a singular figure. And his hires back in 2016 were wretched. Like, he just hired the biggest goofs. So it's like really. And here's the thing: you wrote this March 6th. He's expected to receive that brief, but that brief, to my knowledge, has not been released. Is that correct?
It has not been released. No, like I mentioned, he got asked about it a couple weeks later. Did you receive the briefings? Well, yes, I did, and I believe the official story that these guys acted alone. So there you had it, open and shut case in Trump's mind.
Still doing discovery and just crazy. I mean, it's just like this should have been done by now. What's your thoughts about this whole Josh Shapiro suit or whatever? He was trying to get blamed in a civil suit, right?
Oh, yeah. This just some crazy lady in Pennsylvania accused him in a private criminal complaint to the Butler DA that, Josh Shapiro was involved in the Trump assassination attempt. But there's no there. She just makes a naked accusation. And it went viral on Twitter because in Pennsylvania, you're allowed to file private criminal complaints. There's only a couple states in the union where you can do that. So if you file a criminal complaint, the DA has to respond to you. There's official looking documentation. So people see this on Twitter like, oh, confirm, we got official government documents about Shapiro and the Trump shooting. There's literally no evidence. The timeline includes a meeting between Shapiro and Joe Biden that took place in like June or May. And she's like, oh, this is where the plan was hatched. And you look up like, oh yeah, Joe Biden was in Pennsylvania that day and he like visited a coffee shop and him and Shapiro did some like PR thing. And then he went on to the next town. And so this lady is claiming that I guess the plot was apparently hatched in a coffee shop while reporters were looking on. It's ridiculous. And I think the lady's mentally ill. I hope she gets help, but it's disgusting that people like Alex Jones just like amplifies that shit. It's not helpful to anybody except bad actors.
Right. I mean, that's like the thing. That's the thing about Saruga and some of these other characters. They're either unintentionally muddying the waters or intentionally muddying the waters, which
Yeah.
is even more disturbing. Like, it's just so strange. Like, I would have like, and it's weird kind of to see this kind of feeble attempt. Like, these guys have been almost 3 months now in power, and I would have liked been deposing or having, hearings with like Mayorkas or whoever was involved. Like, what's going on? It seems does it seem strange to you? Because it seems strange to me.
Yeah, they're busy, I don't know, combating anti-Semitism or something. It's real. New York Times actually put it perfectly. To the Times' credit, they did a big article on Kash Patel last week, and they said he's done a, quote, bait and switch. And I can't think of a more perfect phrase for Kash Patel. I mean, this is the guy who was selling medication over the last 4 years, claiming like, oh, if this will help heal your wounds from the spike protein if you took the vaccine. Total grifter, total con man. And of course, so he finally gets into power. He doesn't have to grift off of MAGA anymore. Now he's the FBI director. He just leaves him in the dust. I saw today they're opposing the release of records about FBI presence on the Capitol now. It's like they're basically, it's the same old FBI that it's always been, and it was just always a lie. Any notion that it would be reformed.
Right. It's like, just wait. We're working. It's the same old trust the plan nonsense.
Trust the plan.
Yeah, and then Bondi's just like on TV all the time. I guess she's been on 22 appearances on Fox already.
Yeah,
so
I saw that.
She's marketing herself very well. Like, what's going on? For me, there would have been 50 or 100,000 arrests. There's so much fraud. There's hundreds of billions of dollars missing. It's like its own story. Like, there's crazy funds being moved around through fraud that it's just incredible that nothing's happening. Like, nobody's talking about it. Like, wow.
At the very least, if you're not making arrests, why not just declassify everything, release all these documents, like let the public see. That doesn't require building a case or, working leads and making sure you follow all the due process rights of the people you're targeting. It's just simple. You declassify, you unredact, and you follow up on your transparency promises. But they're not even doing that. So, very, very disappointing. My one hope was because they tried to kill Trump, he wouldn't fall into the same trap he did in his first administration. But in a lot of respects, it looks like that, unfortunately, is still happening.
That Epstein release was a total joke, and nothing's happened to it since. It's a total joke.
Oh, yeah.
It's a totally, I don't know, like, if you followed that. Yeah, it was like, this is it, and the binders, and the weird, like, compromise of the kind of new media that took place. There's nobody who was in that group, I think, from the kind of traditional corporate media. But, I mean, it's just like, you guys got clowned, man. This is bad. Like, I know the Epstein documents really well. So, like, when I saw that, I was like, this is a joke. Like, who's getting fooled?
Still waiting on phase 2.
Right. Phase 2's waiting. It's on her desk. They're redacting for the interest. A lot of those names of the victims have already been revealed. Like, I don't know, like, what's going on. Like, if they're already public figures, you're not going to be, like, doing a disservice or something like that. It's a crazy world, man. There's so much going on. I mean, what do you have any other things? If we move towards the transgender shooter in Nashville, is there anything else about Ruth or Crooks or any of these other characters you want to
add? Let me think about Ruth. I think we pretty much covered it all. Ruth is, he's going to be probably going to trial this September. I will make every effort I can to get down there because it seems to be just it's going to be an amazing trial because you're going to have one of his charges is because he pointed the gun at a Secret Service agent. He's charged with assaulting a federal agent. So I got to imagine the Secret Service will be taking the stand. One of the things that we didn't discuss, along with him trying to buy a rocket launcher from a Ukrainian, he was in touch with a Mexican smuggler about trying to smuggle Afghans into the country throughout 2024. And then right before his plot, he told this Mexican smuggler that, hey, I might be seeing you soon. So pretty much he had an escape plan where he was going to go down to Mexico. But this is another guy that's like, who is this Mexican smuggler? Obviously, the federal government knows who he is. And yeah, what's going on there?
Right. Is that his handler? Like, did he have a handler or somebody bossing him around? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But he did. Have you ever heard of this woman, Kim or whatever, the Dr. Kim, who had like uh, government attentions that he was connected to her? Did you ever hear that story?
No.
I'll
What's
have to
that?
send it to you. That it may be a Saruga story. Let me see if I can pull it up. But there was supposedly some Dr. Kim that he was associated with or had some meetings with. And let's see if I can bring it up. Her name. She was Dr. Sue Kim. And I think she's been on TV. She worked for the Rand Corporation, but somebody argued that or stated there was a connection between him and her. I don't have my notes available right now, but yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not aware of that.
And I saw a video about Mike Benz, and he said, like, Ruth is some kind of guy associated with government. Like, he had some kind of connection to the government. He had a lot of postings, apparently, on X. Have you seen those?
I know they exist. He had he ran like 3 or 4 websites.
Yeah.
A lot of, he is a big social media footprint. I haven't done a deep dive into it yet. I definitely intend to write a big comprehensive story about everything involving Ruth.
Yeah, he's really strange. I think Trump said there were strange markings on his belongings. I remember seeing that picture of the chain link fence, and he had like a video, like a movie camera facing the golf course. Was that ever validated? You know?
I don't know about the movie camera, but yeah, I'm aware of the picture.
Okay.
And I do remember Trump saying strange markings. I think I even commented on that in Twitter. So,
yeah, I think that was your comment. I'm actually looking at a note of yours.
Oh, okay, nice.
I can bring it up.
See, I don't even remember my own tweets. That's how much I'm posting.
You're posting a lot.
Problem.
Well, people check it out. Like, they're great posts. This is you saying Trump says some of Ryan Ruth's cell phones had strange markings on them. They that's the same as Crooks. Didn't Crooks supposedly have 5 phones or something like that?
Yeah, he did. And I've probably got like 10 devices, various iPads that have been dead for years. So I don't know how much weight I'd put into that. Interesting thing I will reveal, they released a transcript of an ATF agent that was interviewed by Congress who talks about going into the home. You had kind of alluded to this about earlier. It wasn't scrubbed according to the ATF agent, so I don't know how that rumor got started. But he did say he goes into the basement. The parents seem like preppers, a lot of guns, safes, food stored up. And then in Crooks's room, he finds Info bomb. And the ATF agent, he's got like a big tank. He finds a big tank of like racing fuel too. And he's like, if you open the jar, it's going to stink up the whole house. So like, how did the parents not know that the son was making an Info bomb in his room? He also had a 3D printer, which is kind of interesting, just to show what kind of kid this was. Very high IQ. But yeah, it's just so many more questions.
And then they took his body and cremated it without any approval of anybody. They just went out and did it. That's like a sign of a cover-up. Yep. That's what they did with the guy they blew up in L.A. What was the Iraq reporter who was in the car who blew up? I remember they cremated him.
Well, they didn't cremate McVeigh, but remember when McVeigh was on death row, he sued the government to prevent him from having an autopsy conducted on him, which is like crazy.
Like, why would you care? Like, why would that be an issue?
That's a very good question. Apparently he thought he had told other people on death row. This all came out in a book, and it's actually credible. We know McVeigh did say this. We don't know if it's true, but we know for a fact that McVeigh did say this, that, he was sheep dipped. He was in black ops, and that he thought that once they were going to fake his execution and revive him, and then he would live under a new identity. And smart researchers like Richard Booth and my hero Jesse Trenadu, he said the lawsuit to prevent the autopsy probably actually did sign his death certificate, because if McVeigh's some weird government experiment, they're probably just going to get rid of him to conceal the evidence. So if he's preventing people from doing an autopsy, that's like the last step that some dark CIA operation would need. Like, great, we're destroying the evidence.
Right. No, it was Michael Hastings, if you remember. He died in.
Oh, they didn't autopsy him?
No, they cremated him right away.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's a fact. That was June 18th, 2013. I live in LA, so I could drive by there all the time. People would put up signs. This is not an accident. The engine block was literally on the road. Like, so how do you crash into a tree and the engine block flies out? Because it blew up before it hit the tree. That's the whole thing. It's like, that guy, he had a lot of enemies. Really did, Hastings. But
yeah, R.I.P.
It's interesting. Yeah, R.I.P. He was an amazing guy, but some of these guys are pretty ruthless, man. They are not joking around, especially if they come back from war zones where they're used to being in war and they're soldiers. Like, they got a different mentality, man. So these Ukraine guys too, who like managing the Ukraine war, people got to watch out. These guys are tough. I think Livelsberger, the guy in Vegas associated with the Ukraine. I know Ruth was. I don't know who else, but
I'm not sure. That stretch. I remember I was on vacation for like the first time in a year, and when all that stuff happened, and I'm like, nope. Even though this is like directly what I cover, I'm not gonna start working again. So the Las Vegas and the New Orleans are two cases that I didn't really pay much attention to when they happened.
That's strange. This is the other picture I was trying to remember. This guy's Chef Jose Andres. Like, I think he had the #1 restaurant in the world at one point. But like, what's he doing with Ruth? Like, this is weird. And this guy's like, a lot of his associates were murdered in Gaza, by the way. Andres too. Like, I think 6 or 7 chefs were blown up in cars and Palantir and all this stuff. These AI targeting is pretty scary. But there's a lot to be watched. People go check out JD Cashless on Twitter and Ken Silva for this story. And because there's probably a lot more articles that are coming out. But one of the things I wanted to follow up with you is this Nashville shooter, like this manifesto. I know you wrote a couple articles about that.
Yeah, so I don't know what more else is to say about that one, where severely mentally ill. She had been going to Vanderbilt Medical Hospital for psych evaluations since she was like 6 years old in 2002. Wow. MK Ultra enjoyers might find that interesting. The thing about the Nashville shooting that I would like to address is the fact that the FBI just released like 1,000 documents, and they just handed them over to Megyn Kelly, who did a big expose a day or two ago. But there's like a local newspaper, the Tennessee Star, has been suing the FBI to get those records for 2 years now. At one point, the judge even threatened to throw the publisher in jail for contempt of court because they were leaked a couple of the documents and published them. And so, like, this is like heroic journalism done, to help out the good guys, in my eye. Like, get the truth on it, and then Kash Patel repays this newspaper by just taking all this evidence and giving it to his preferred journalist. So it's just like another really disappointing thing to see from our so-called, this is the new FBI, right. Same as the old one.
Why wouldn't they just disclose it to the public? Like, why? I mean, give it to her. Like, that is so odd. It's
very similar as what happened with the Epstein files. I think, not to get too self-referential, but I was the first reporter to break the news 2 nights ago about the Ryan Ruth trying to buy a rocket launcher. It wasn't amazing skills by me. I was just keeping an eye on the docket, and I saw the filing pop up first. So I published a screenshot, and then that Benny Johnson influencer guy, 3 million followers, he just steals my screenshot and then publishes breaking like 12 hours after I already broke the story. And then he was the one that got the millions of views and the retweet from Elon Musk and all these guys.
Wow, that's
So I
crazy.
think there's definitely something going on where the conservative or right wing journalists who are not critical of the administration are getting boosted. And then the honest journalists like myself, if I can make that claim, we're kind of getting shut out in the cold. So it is what it is. That's kind of to be expected. I'd rather keep my integrity and not be one of those just so embarrassing influencers with the binder on camera.
Right. Like it's gonna be a stain for all of them forever to be associated. Anybody credible who knows Epstein knows it's just a total carnival, a total clown show. But it is interesting to watch that phenomenon. I think you and I and a lot of other people are like, wow, look at these people. Like Ryan's a perfect example. You mentioned him earlier. The guy came out of nowhere and like he's like the top 10 podcast in the world. Like how did this happen? And I think that Elon Musk was on there. So I think there's the new establishment or whatever you want to call it has their favored outlets, and they're gonna people who are not going to criticize them, they're going to give them what they're going to boost them, just like you said. Yeah.
For sure.
I think it's interesting. Yeah. So Saruga, somebody said that Benny Johnson is a serial plagiarizer, a rip-off. But there's a lot of money at stake. People take content and repost it and do stuff, and if you get 1 million views, like I've heard of stories of like people netting $10,000-$20,000 on a post just because so many millions of people watched it. So it's a lot. There's a lot at stake.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about my work. I guess I can mention I am working on a book about the Trump assassinations, and I'm not just saying that the book. It is a lot of progress is being made. Hopefully, something will come out by this July or so, around
nice.
the 1-year anniversary, and then I would love to talk to you about
that. Anytime, of course,
when it's getting finalized.
Do you have a working title?
I'm thinking the Trump the Trump assassination attempts subtitle, what the investigations missed and why it matters. Kind of a play on the title of one of my favorite OKC books. It's called Oklahoma City, What the Investigation Missed and Why It Matters. So, not married to that, but I kind of like it.
It still matters. It really all matters. All that stuff matters. Like this is a very important time in world history. If Trump got killed, it would have changed world history, especially at that time in Butler, where he didn't even have like a vice presidential pick done yet.
Absolutely.
But people are saying that about JFK. I heard Ben Shapiro say, what does it matter about the JFK assassination? It means everything because the world changed when he died. And what he was trying to do was kind of stop the killings. And it changed the world, changed the country. And the 60s was really dark. If you really take an objective overview of the 60s with strife and racial strife, the war, Vietnam, My Lies, the culture, everybody thought they were going to get nuked. We don't want to go through that again. So I'm glad that you're out there researching this, and hopefully, there was a recent, I don't know if you saw this, but I think it was Schellenberger, who I think is actually a real journalist. He published something where they did a poll, which you got to take with a grain of salt, but it said that the left really thinks, like people in the Democratic Party really think that they should kill Trump. Like there's a significant amount of the people that they polled, like 30 to 40%, who thinks that killing Trump is justified. So
I did see that too. Yeah. I don't know what to make of that. I don't have any of these people in my life. Luckily, like a lot of my family are like old kind of boomer libs, but they're not talking about killing Trump. So I guess that's good.
It's out there. There was another post that I saw on the TMZ through 30 Mile Zone here in LA, and it said people are talking to John Hinckley, who tried to kill Reagan. They're saying, come back out and try to kill Trump. Like they literally are publicizing. You see these TDS people doing that stuff too. They're very angry. And it's strange to me because I'm like you. I don't hang out with those people who think like that, but they're out there, and it's just a crazy days. But I'm glad you're out there doing this research. People, check it out. Again, the sites, I'll put a link to Headline USA and your work. Also X. Is there anything else you'd like to add or anything I missed before we wrap it up?
Nope. Thanks again.
Yeah, Ken Silva, Headline USA. Great work on Crooks and the Ruth shooting with a book to be published hopefully 2025 in July. Thanks so much for your time.